Okay, today we're going to look at the equation of a straight line. So we know that we've been calling that a linear line. And we know that the basic formula for a linear line is y equals mx plus c. So the steepness of a line, of like how steep it is called the gradient. So, and that is actually this m value there. So the m value represents the gradient. So if you have a high number, if you have a high gradient, you'll get a real steep line. If you have like a low number, you get a more flatter line. Like it doesn't steep as much. So we're going to look at the gradient. So the gradient or the slope or the steepness, you can use the formula rise over run, or you can use the formula where you use 2 points, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if you have a look, if we were trying to find the gradient of this slope, we can either do the rise and run method, or we could do using the 2 points. So I'll do both and show you. Okay, with the rise and run method, you start at 1 point. So I'm going to start here, and you do your rise first, and you're going to rise up like that, and then you run across to your others. So if you look, I was down at -2, and I rose up all the way up to 2. So can you see I've actually gone up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got a rise of 4, and then I've gone a run. If you look, I was at -4 here, and I've run across to 6. So I've actually run across 10. Okay, so if you rise up that way, it's a positive number, and if you run across that way, it's a positive number. If you go down from a point, it'd be negative, and if you go that way from a point, it's a negative number. So I've actually gone up a positive and over a positive, so 4 over 10. So we could simplify that to be 2 over 5. Now, just to show you, you can use the gradient, the y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1 method. So what you do is with your 2 points, you label them. So I'm going to call this x2, y2, and I'll call this one x1, y1. It doesn't matter which one you label, your first point or your second point, as long as if that's x1, that's going to be y1. All right, so if I pop them in, so the formula says y2. So for me, y2 is 2. Then I'm going to minus y1, which is -2, over x2, which is 6, minus a -4. Now remember, a minus and a minus becomes a plus. So you have now got 2 plus 2, which is 4, and 6 plus 4, which is 10. So you can see we got the same gradient. So we got m to be the same as up there. Okay, so with this one, find the gradient of the line passing through the points -2 and 5 and 1 and 14. So when you get ones like this, it's probably best to use the y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1 formula. So we can just label these points up here, and then we're just going to substitute in. So y2 is 14 minus y1 is 5, and 1 minus -2. So we end up with 9 over 3, which can be simplified down to 3. So the gradient for this line is equal to 3. Okay, here's another example. Find the gradient. So I'm just going to label x1, y1, x2, y2. Going to write the formula for the gradient, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then I'll substitute the values in. So I have negative 24 minus 6 over 10 minus 0. So I end up with negative 30 over 10. So it is negative 3. So you can see this is a negative gradient. So you can see that the line is going downwards. So that's a negative gradient. Yeah. With this next one, I'm going to do the gradient. I'm going to do rise over run method to show you the difference. So I'm down here. You've got to start at one point and you're going to go up the rise. So you can see I went from negative 21 up to 0. So it was a rise of 21 over a run of 21. So for that one, it was 1. So the gradient is 1. So that's the run distance and that's the rise distance there. Okay. Okay, so with our gradients or our m values, we can see we have either positive, negative numbers. So if we have a positive number, we see it's a positive gradient. So that means it is going up. So a positive gradient goes up, going up the line. If you have a negative gradient, you'll notice that the line is going in a downwards, going down. If you go left from right, so it's going down. So you can see going down that way. Positive is going up if we're moving left to right. Now, if you have a zero gradient is actually a horizontal line. So say like that. So say that was on, y equals 3, then this horizontal, you'll see a horizontal, no gradient. The formula just looks like that. So it just looks like y equals 3. There's no x value in there. Okay, if you have a undefined gradient, that means it's going vertical. It's a vertical line, so it looks like this, straight up and down. So if I was to say like that was x equals 5, so these, when there's no undefined gradient, you'll have an x equals 5. The formula will be an x equals formula.